Walk into any gym, and you'll see the same movements on repeat. People grinding through sets that look productive, feel hard, and deliver almost nothing. The problem isn't effort. It's that most lifters inherit exercises from social media clips, outdated advice, or gym culture traditions that survive because they look impressive, not because they build muscle efficiently. This video breaks down 14 of the most common workout mistakes disguised as legitimate exercises. These aren't beginner movements. They're gym staples that waste time, miss target muscles, or create joint stress that far outweighs any hypertrophy benefit. You'll see them in every commercial gym, every week, performed by people who genuinely believe they're training smart. Here's what makes an exercise useless. Poor attention where it matters, terrible risk-to-reward ratios, or execution patterns that turn strength work into ego theater. Some survive because they feel athletic. Others persist because they let you use heavier weight. All of them quietly steal progress from people who deserve better. Quick safety note: nothing here is medical advice. If you have injuries or structural issues, work with a professional. This is about common gym execution patterns and why they fail for most people in most contexts most of the time. Let's expose the worst exercises people keep doing and the better alternatives that actually deliver results. Number 1, half-rep squats, accidental partials. You know the pattern. Someone loads 3 plates, descends about 6 inches, bounces up, racks it loud, and walks away feeling accomplished. It looks strong. The weight is heavy. The problem? They just train the easiest part of the squat while skipping the positions that actually build legs. Range of motion is one of the primary drivers of muscle growth. Research consistently shows that full-range squats produce equal or greater hypertrophy compared to partials, particularly in the quads. Partial squats aren't inherently bad. They have legitimate uses in sport-specific training or overload phases. But accidental partials? Those are avoidance disguised as programming. Most lifters learn depth from inconsistent online clips, so their brain codes quarter squat as squat. The ego loves it because you can load heavier and rack louder. Meanwhile, the positions where you're weakest, where real adaptation happens, never get trained. Your joints absorb more load. Your quads get less tension. Your depth never improves because you never practice it. What people think: bigger squat equals bigger legs. What's actually happening? Bigger ego load equals more joint stress and less quad stimulus. Better alternatives: full ROM squats to your safe depth, pause squats at the bottom, tempo squats that force you to own the hardest position without bouncing out of it. If you never train a position that breaks you, you'll never build the legs that carry you. Number 2, kipping pull UPS 4 back growth. Kipping pull-ups turn a brutally hard movement into high rep numbers fast. That's the appeal. It feels athletic. It racks up volume quickly, and it looks impressive in group workouts or on social media. But here's the disconnect. Skillful doesn't mean hypertrophic. For most non-gymnast populations, the momentum fundamentally changes what's being loaded. The lats don't receive clean, repeatable tension. They survive chaotic forces while the joints absorb unpredictable stress. Surveyed data on CrossFit injuries consistently cites kipping pull-ups among movements associated with shoulder problems. The biomechanics of kipping and butterfly variations differ dramatically from strict pull-ups, meaning completely different joint loading patterns. The trap is seductive. More reps feels like more work. But hypertrophy loves repeatable tension, not acrobatic survival. When half the rep is powered by momentum, your back isn't accumulating the stimulus that builds muscle. Your shoulders are just paying the bill. Kipping pull-ups are a legitimate skill for certain sports. As a hypertrophy exercise for most lifters, they're a waste. What people think: high reps equals bigger back. What's actually happening? High momentum equals shoulder stress with minimal lat tension. Better alternatives: strict pull-ups with controlled eccentrics. Machine-assisted strict pull-ups to build volume. Lat pull-downs where you actually control the weight through the full range. If the rep is powered by momentum, your back isn't growing. Your shoulders are paying the bill. Number 3, behind the neck press for most shoulders. This one carries old-school credibility. It looks hardcore. It feels military. People chase it, because it's a vertical press that feels dramatically different from standard overhead work. The problem? It demands a perfect storm of mobility that most lifters simply don't have. Behind the neck pressing requires exceptional shoulder mobility, scapular control, and thoracic extension, all at the same time. When any of those pieces are missing, the body compensates. Head drifts forward, ribs flare out, elbows flare wide. The result is a movement that delivers joint stress without delivering better delts. Shoulder mechanics research emphasizes that scapular position and humeral head control matter enormously during overhead elevation. Poor control in those areas can contribute to impingement patterns. The hidden truth? Most lifters don't fail this movement because they're weak. They fail because the position is wrong for their structure on that particular day, with that particular load. Some lifters have the mobility and stability to make this work safely. Most don't, and they spend years wondering why their shoulders hurt. What people think, this hits my delts differently. What's actually happening? This tests my shoulder's tolerance for awkward positions. Better alternatives: standard front overhead press, neutral grip dumbbell press, landmine press for a vertical angle with less joint demand. If your neck has to dodge the bar, the movement isn't advanced, it's misfit. Number 4, upright rows, high and heavy. Upright rows hit delts and traps quickly. They look aggressive with plates on the bar. They're easy to teach. Pull the bar up. That simplicity is deceptive because the execution pattern most people use creates more shoulder irritation potential than actual delt development. The worst rep is always the top. Elbows high, wrists bent, shoulder joint crowded into internal rotation while elevated. A position biomechanics research links with subacromial impingement risk in susceptible shoulders. The movement forces the shoulder into abduction and elevation while internally rotated, which narrows the space under the acromion. For some lifters, this is fine. For many, it's a slow-building problem that accumulates over months of training. The trap is that people chase trap height, not delt tension. It becomes a joint tolerance test disguised as a muscle-building movement. You're not training weaker delts. You're testing how much your shoulder can pinch before it complains. What people think, this is building my traps inside delts. What's actually happening? This is testing how long my shoulder can handle a compromised position under load. Better alternatives: lateral raises with controlled tempo, high pulls with proper coaching and setup, cable Y raises, face pulls performed strictly for rear delts and upper back. It's not a delt builder when the shoulder has to pinch to finish the rep. Number 5, seated machine twists. People love this machine. It feels like a work without the sweat. The machine makes it official. The movement feels satisfying because rotation equals core, right? Wrong. This is spine roulette disguised as training. Most seated twist machines lock the pelvis in place and force all rotational demand into the lumbar spine. That's a problem because the lumbar spine isn't designed for a high-load rotation. It's designed for stability. Biomechanics work shows that lumbar rotation and posture affect spinal mechanics and internal pressures. Loading rotation while pinning the hips forces the low back to absorb twisting stress it's poorly equipped to handle. The secondary trap. People confuse the burn with fat loss. They assume twisting away love handles is a legitimate strategy. It's not. A fatigue doesn't equal fat reduction. Movement doesn't equal muscle building tension when the movement is poorly designed. There are better ways to train rotational strength and anti-rotation stability. Ways that don't ask your lumbar spine to twist under load. What people think, this is training my obliques and burning belly fat. What's actually happening? This is loading my low back in rotation while my core barely stabilizes. Better alternatives: Palloff press for anti-rotation strength, cable chops with controlled hips, loaded carries, dead bugs and planks for anti-extension work. If the machine locks your hips and makes your low back do the twisting, it's not core training, it's spine roulette. Number 6, heavy shrug rolls. Rolling shrugs look like more work than standard shrugs. The circular motion feels satisfying, like you're hitting every angle of the traps. It feels comprehensive. It's also mostly pointless. Traps primarily elevate and upwardly rotate the scapula. That's a relatively simple job. Lift the shoulder, hold it, lower it under control. Turning that into a big shoulder circle adds messy joint motion without adding better trap stimulus. The roll often becomes neck strain and shoulder grinding because the lifter can't control the load through the entire circular path. You end up doing more movement while actually delivering less targeted work to the muscle you're supposedly training. The trap muscle doesn't need a shoulder tour. It needs clean vertical elevation with good control and a pause at the top. That's it. Rolling doesn't improve recruitment. It just introduces variables that make the movement sloppier. What people think, rolling hits every angle of my traps. What's actually happening? Rolling turns a simple movement into neck strain and shoulder grinding. Better alternatives. Clean vertical shrugs with a pause at the top. Farmers carries for functional trap and grip work. Trap raises on incline bench. High pulls if coached properly. Rolling shrugs don't build smarter traps. They build sloppy shoulders. Number 7, leaning back lat pull downs, chest to bar cheating. You see this in every gym. Someone leans so far back on a lat pull down that their torso becomes horizontal. The cable comes down to their chest, and they feel victorious. The weight is heavy. The bar touched the chest. Mission accomplished, right? Not even close. When the torso leans back into a near horizontal position, the movement shifts from a pure lat-dominant pull into something closer to a row. The rear delts and upper back take over. The lats, the muscles you're supposedly targeting, lose their primary role in the movement. EMG research on lat pull-down shows that lat activation can remain relatively stable across different grips, meaning the magic isn't in the grip variation. It's in the execution and control. A big lean often becomes momentum plus spinal extension, not a controlled shoulder adduction and extension pattern. You're moving your body more than you're moving the cable. That's not lat training. That's leveraging yourself into a different movement entirely. What people think, leaning back lets me use more weight for bigger lats. What's actually happening? Leaning back turns a lat pull down into a weird row where the lats barely work. Better alternatives. Strict pull downs with a slight lean and full control. Chest supported pull down machines that eliminate cheating. Controlled neutral grip pull-ups. If your body is moving more than the cable, the lats aren't the main character anymore. Number 8, high rep dumbbell swings, not kettlebell swings. Someone sees kettlebell swings online. Powerful, athletic, explosive. They walk into the gym, can't find a kettlebell, grab a dumbbell, and start swinging it for high reps. It looks similar. It feels like conditioning. The problem? The execution falls apart immediately. Dumbbell shape changes the arc and grip mechanics completely. Most people end up squatting the weight up, yanking it with their arms, or letting their low back absorb sloppy, chaotic reps. Kettlebell swings are highly technical hip hinge power work. They require precise timing, hip drive, and tension control. Sloppy versions just become random back fatigue with a weight flying around. The trap is that it looks like legitimate hinge training. It feels hard, but hard doesn't mean effective when the movement pattern is wrong and the load is being absorbed by compensatory patterns instead of the target muscles. What people think, this is training my posterior chain and conditioning. What's actually happening? This is my low back flinching under chaotic reps. Better alternatives. Real kettlebell swings with proper coaching. RDLs for controlled hinge work. Hip thrusts. Sled pushes or pulls for conditioning that doesn't risk your spine. If the weight is flying because your back is flinching, that's not power, it's panic. Number 9, kickback triceps with heavy dumbbells. Triceps kickbacks are simple. They look like isolation. They're popular in influencer circuits. The problem is physics. The resistance curve is terrible, and most people turn it into a posture holding contest instead of a triceps movement. The dumbbell offers meaningful resistance, mainly when the forearm is parallel to the floor. Outside that narrow window, torque drops dramatically. This forces you to choose a weight that the weakest point in the range can handle, which means the triceps is severely underloaded where it could work hardest. Add heavy dumbbells to this equation, and people start cheating, swinging the weight, using momentum, shifting their torso to compensate. Coaching analyses consistently point out that kickbacks have poor leverage, turning a triceps isolation movement into a fight to hold position while the actual muscle barely works. You spend more effort stabilizing than you do contracting the triceps. What people think, this isolates my triceps perfectly. What's actually happening? This tests my ability to hold a pose while the triceps get minimal load. Better alternatives. Cable kickbacks for a better resistance curve. Push downs with controlled tempo. Overhead extensions to target the long head. If the only hard part is holding the pose, you're doing physics, not triceps. Number 10, wrist curls for bigger forearms only. Wrist curls are the most obvious forearm exercise. They give you a pump. They feel direct. The problem? They're a time sink when almost every other pulling and carrying movement you do already builds forearms more effectively. Forearm size and strength develop best through heavy holds, loaded carries, rows, deadlifts, and thick handle work. These movements train the entire grip system, not just the tiny wrist flexors, and they do it while simultaneously building back, traps, and overall systemic strength. Wrist curls can be fine as accessory work, but many lifters do them instead of the bigger drivers, then wonder why their forearms stay small. If your forearm training only happens when you're sitting down doing tiny reps with light dumbbells, you're missing the forest of the trees. Grip strength and forearm development are byproducts of heavy, loaded work, not isolated wrist movements. What people think. Wrist curls are the best way to build forearms. What's actually happening? Wrist curls are a small piece of forearm work that gets prioritized over the movements that actually deliver size and strength. Better alternatives. Farmer's carries, dead hangs, heavy rows without straps, thick bar or towel grip variations. If your forearms only work when you're sitting down doing tiny reps, your grip isn't training, it's pretending. Number 11, fast bouncing calf raises. Calves are boring. Everyone knows it. So people speed them up, bouncing through reps to make them feel athletic and fast. The problem? The bounce shifts the work away from the muscle and toward elastic recoil in the Achilles tendon and connective tissue. High-speed bouncing turns calf raises into pogo reps. The Achilles and surrounding structures absorb the forces, while the actual calf muscles, soleus and gastrocnemius, get minimal tension. Plyometric contexts document high tendon loads during bouncing movements, meaning you're training connective tissue resilience more than muscular strength or size. Calves are stubborn. They need controlled tension, full range of motion, and time under load to grow. Bouncing through sets might feel efficient, but it's just Achilles training disguised as calf work. What people think. Fast reps make calf training less boring. What's actually happening? Fast reps turn calf work into tendon stress with weak muscle tension. Better alternatives. Pause calf raises with controlled stretch at the bottom. Seated calf raises to isolate the soleus. Slow eccentric for time under tension. If your calves aren't burning but your reps look like hops, your Achilles is doing the set. Number 12, bench press with zero pause and full bounce. The bounce makes the weight move. It feels like you found extra strength. Social proof amplifies it. People copy what looks strong. The problem? The bounce shifts emphasis away from controlled pec tension toward rebound and joint stress, while simultaneously teaching terrible motor patterns. Research on bench press bounce techniques shows that introducing bounce with heavier loads can increase power output in certain contexts, but also significantly increases injury risk, particularly for inexperienced lifters. Case reports document rib stress fractures associated with barbell bouncing during bench press. The chest doesn't absorb the impact. The sternum, ribs, and surrounding structures do. The bounce removes the hardest part of the lift, controlling the weight at the bottom and pressing it back up with pure strength. Instead, you're using elastic recoil from tissues that weren't designed to be trampolines. The chest gets less tension. The joints get more stress. Technique deteriorates because you never learn to own the full range. What people think. Bouncing helps me lift more weight. What's actually happening? Bouncing shifts the work from chest tension to joint stress and rebound. Better alternatives. Controlled touch with a brief pause. Tempo reps to eliminate momentum. Dumbbell press for greater control and range. If the rep only works when you crash it, you don't own the lift. Number 13. Smith machine squats as a leg builder. The Smith machine feels safe. It feels stable. It removes balance demands, which makes people think it removes risk. The problem? A fixed bar path doesn't guarantee safe mechanics. It forces mechanics, and those mechanics might be completely wrong for your body. Kinematic analysis comparing traditional back squats to Smith machine squats documents significant differences in movement patterns. The fixed path can force unnatural joint angles depending on your stance, limb proportions, and torso length. Many lifters compensate by placing their feet far forward and turning the movement into a weird knee and hip pattern that feels strong but doesn't transfer well to athletic squatting or real-world strength. The Smith machine removes proprioceptive feedback, the body's sense of where it is in space, which is one of the core benefits of free squatting. You lose stabilizer activation, you lose motor control development, and you often end up forcing your body into angles it wouldn't naturally choose. What people think. The Smith machine is safer because the bar is fixed. What's actually happening? The fixed path forces joint angles that might be awkward or unnatural for your structure. Better alternatives. Free squats with appropriate load. Hack squats. Leg press with controlled lockout. Bulgarian split squats for unilateral strength. A fixed path doesn't guarantee a safe body. Number 14, endless crunches for fat loss. This is the oldest fitness myth still walking around gyms in 2025. Burn the belly by working the belly. People do hundreds of crunches, feel the burn, assume they're working, and wonder why the fat doesn't disappear. The disconnect is fundamental. Spot reduction, the idea that you can selectively burn fat from a specific area by training that area, has been debated in research. Some studies suggest localized fat use can occur under very specific contexts, but mainstream evidence and practical outcomes consistently show that if training improves strength and endurance, not targeted fat loss. Fat reduction is systemic. It happens when you're in a caloric deficit over time, and your body decides where it pulls from, not you. Crunches aren't useless because abs are pointless. They're useless when the goal is fat loss, because that's not what a training does. People use crunches as a fat loss ritual instead of core strength tool, and they waste years chasing a mechanism that doesn't exist. What people think. Crunches burn belly fat. What's actually happening? Crunches fatigue the abs without affecting fat loss in any meaningful, targeted way. Better alternatives. For fat loss, training volume plus nutrition. For core strength, rollouts carries anti-extension planks, pal-off press. Crunches don't burn belly fat. They burn time, unless you're training abs for what abs actually do. 14 exercises. 14 different ways to waste effort in the gym. The pattern is always the same. Movements survive because they look productive, feel hard, or fit neatly into gym culture traditions, not because they deliver results. Better exercises don't just build muscle faster. They reduce joint stress, improve movement quality, and give you progress you can actually see and feel. The goal isn't perfection. It's efficiency. Time spent on useless exercises is time stolen from movements that actually work. If you recognize yourself in any of these, good. That means you're paying attention. Most people repeat these patterns for years without questioning them. You don't have to. Swap the useless for the effective. Train smarter. Progress faster. And if this video saved you even one wasted set, hit the like button and subscribe for more no-nonsense training breakdowns that cut through the noise. Thanks for watching.